Work, work, work. Work, 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 work. Work, 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 work. Work is a very important aspect of our lives. It feeds us, keeps the lights on in our homes, and basically buys us anything that we want. It also gives us our friends and our different colleagues and social connections. But especially during the pandemic, work has become a constant source of stress for all of us, especially with the blurring lines between time intended for work and time intended for our personal lives. Today on LitePsych, we're going to evaluate how you're doing on your work-life balance. And more importantly, we're going to talk about what you can do to achieve it. Hi everyone, I'm Jim, and this is LitePsych, the latest psychology in simple terminology. When we talk about work-life balance, it assumes that our personal life is just as important as our work life, that we need to have both and we need to give attention and time and effort to both. The conventional understanding of work-life balance is meeting your deadlines while having time to see your friends, meeting your manager's expectations while coming home in time for dinner. In more technical terms, work-life balance is simply the relationship between your work life and your personal life. There are two main perspectives when we're evaluating our work-life balance, and that is enrichment and depletion. Enrichment is when we have a sense of synergy between our work life and our personal life. It's when we experience a positive impact in our well-being and our just general quality of life. This is the ideal, the picture-perfect goal. This is when we have good health, high life satisfaction, and doing so damn well at our job. The other perspective is that of depletion, and this is when we consciously or subconsciously sacrifice an aspect of our work life or our personal life for the other. In other words, there is no balance because you're making trade-offs between the two. It's when you miss your best friend's birthday because you had to make a presentation, or conversely, it's when you missed a meeting because you wanted to go see your best friend. These are negative experiences that affect our well-being and that we should take great care to avoid. It's important to know that enrichment and depletion varies over time. Sometimes they can last very long, and in other times they can just be over very quickly. It's just like that period when all of your clients just keep calling and have so many things to ask for, and maybe it'll last for 3 months. But after that 3 months, you can go back to sneaking in a Netflix film every now and then while you're working.
Nice.
So in this sense, work-life balance is ever evolving because our needs and our responsibilities at home or in the workplace are also changing over time. So in the situation I mentioned where, it's just those months where you're the busiest, putting off the things that give you joy or relax you from work can actually be beneficial in the long term because you pay for 9 months with 3 months. So with all that said, of course our goal is to find situations with more enrichment because that's where we experience flourishing and positive well-being, and we want to avoid situations of depletion. And it is possible to have a balance with both.
Alright, let's do it!
We can examine or appreciate work balance from different perspectives. The first of which is segmentation. This is when you draw a clear-cut line between what is work and what is personal. Seeing work balance from this perspective actually reduces the chances of depletion because your two lives are separate from each other. So there's less likely of a chance that a spillover will happen. So if you had a terrible day in the office, once you get home, because it's a separate thing entirely, you don't think about that and just enjoy your dinner with your family. Because your role as a husband, wife, father, or mother is separate from being the manager and an employee, then the pains and the stress and the conflict that you have at work won't be brought at home, and vice versa. Another perspective is integration, and where in segmentation we had a clear line between work and personal life, integration blurs those boundaries. So unlike segmentation, there's a greater possibility, if not a certainty, that there will be spillover between your two lives. You can experience work-life balance here when you experience both enrichment and depletion, but as we've mentioned, we'd like to have more enriching experiences than depleting experiences. And this may be what a lot of us suffered from in the pandemic. It's just almost impossible to separate work and life because we're all working from home. We're 90% working from home. So what were one separate tasks of creating my presentation and cooking now coincide at the same time. You edit one slide, then you run off to check what you're cooking. The line between the two are just so blurred that it was difficult maintaining a balance or even recognizing what time is for what. Our motivations also affect how we view our work-life balance. There are 4 main types of motivators when it comes to work-life balance. The first of which is intrinsic motivation, and this is when we work because we love our work. The reasons don't really involve anyone or anything else. It's because I love it, you love it, you chose it. You find it rewarding, you find it significant, and it's not about the money or the fame or the prestige that comes along with it. It's just for you. When we approach work from this kind of motivation, it facilitates enrichment and actually protects us from depletion. It then enhances work-life balance and encourages flourishing. The second kind is, of course, the opposite. It's extrinsic motivation. This is when we do something for a separate consequence. So for example, we work for the money because who doesn't?
Amen.
I'm kidding, but extrinsic motivation is really that when there's something outside or something separate from the work that is pushing you to do that work. Viewing work from this lens can make unpleasant or boring work actually feel a little bit okay because we know that we're doing all this unpleasantness for money or for power or for fame or whatever extrinsic motivator you might have. So in this, extrinsic motivation actually enhances work-life balance moderately because of the rewards that we reap from the work that we do. Another motivation, quite obvious, is your family. How you view your work is very straightforward. I'm doing this to provide for my family. It is your need to provide and care and protect for your family that enriches your work experience, and you look forward to the satisfaction of achieving your role as provider. Quite similar to this is the caregiving motivation. So this applies to both your family and people outside of it, or basically anyone. A caregiving ambition may allow people to feel more enrichment when they get to play the role of caregiver for their parents, their children, cousins, and anyone else that they choose to care for. So those with high caregiving ambition can experience enrichment without necessarily depleting their work role. There are many other factors that play into work-life balance. There's job flexibility, your control, race, gender, etc. At an organizational level, recognizing that there are different styles to work-life balance is very important. Otherwise, it might lead to backlash because policies and practices for someone who is into work-life integration is going to be very different from someone who likes to implement a work-life segmentation kind of lifestyle. So for those with integration, you might offer on-site childcare, whereas for those with segmentation in their mind, you might offer no office communication after 5 p.m.
Interesting.
So here's what you can do to achieve work-life balance. Number 1, remember that it is still possible to achieve and experience work-life balance even when depletion episodes happen in your life. Because number 1, those depletion episodes will come to an end at some point. And number 2, you can always find more enrichment experiences both inside and outside of work. Just remember that just because you're experiencing depletion, it does not mean that you can't experience anything else at the same time. Number 2, on what you can do to experience work-life balance, know your priorities and constantly ask yourself, is this worth it? If you're experiencing bumps and troubles in your current role, ask yourself if all of these sacrifices are leading up to something that will be more sustainable and something that will give you more joy in the long term. If you realize then that it may not lead to that, then maybe reconsider where you are right now and reconsider what you're going to do about it. Maybe also think about Should I be approaching this as integration or should I be separating them? You can also think about maybe it's just time to switch jobs or roles. Searching for other roles, even through just volunteering, can help you get more enrichment experiences. And this can help greatly in influencing your work-life balance. For organizations that are watching, what can you do to foster work-life balance? Number one, organizations can implement values, structures, and norms that support work-life balance and try to discourage backlash or close-mindedness from management when it comes to these kinds of policies. Number two, organizations can identify what aspects of our work can be potentially depleting and work on programs to make sure that these depleting factors are minimized as much as possible. Some usual causes of depletion are unclear job descriptions because suddenly you're just doing everything, very stressful commute to work, and this is especially prevalent during the pandemic. So with issues like these, organizations can create employee assistance programs that will target the very problems that their employees are facing on a daily basis. And number three, aside from targeting what can be depleting, organizations must also find a way to imbue more enriching experiences in the work life, such as offering positive experiences like having volunteering programs, team buildings, different workshops, seminars, and of course, policies that support their employees and their work-life boundary preferences. The goal is balance, just as how things should be. Remember that your work does not define you and you are valuable and loved just as you are. Comment down below any questions you might have and feel free to leave any topics, studies, or personal questions you might want us to look into. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss on our next video. Follow us at LitePsych on Instagram for the latest psychology in simple terminology. Again, this is Jim, and I firmly believe that we are equal parts work and play. I will see you next time.